Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Stories from the Shed. My name is Adam, and again with me this week, a man whose pillow will be getting some serious head tonight. Jake, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing all right.
That was a good one.
You like that?
Yeah, I do like that one. I wish I knew what the other one was, though.
Well, you'll have to wait till next week.
Damn it.
How you doing, man?
I'm good. It's Friday. I'm fucking excited.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Have a couple days off from work.
I've been looking forward to this topic all week.
Yeah?
Yep.
Well, it helps we actually know this topic this week. Last week we knew it, but it wasn't as big as this one.
It was a rough week last
bigger
week.
Than this one.
It was a rough week just all around work, and work was much better this week for me, I'm sure for you.
Yeah, it wasn't your first week on the job.
Yeah.
That's nice. It wasn't as stressful this week. We had a bunch of stuff to do, but it settled down like halfway through Wednesday, so it was good.
So hopefully we can make this one a rebound type episode.
Not like the last episode was bad.
Yeah, not like it was bad, but
No.
a little bit flat because we were so tired, and I'm ready to go today. I've got a lot of energy.
Not
so
only that, but that what the hell was that drink that I kept making? I kept calling it the wrong drink.
Oh, no more rum in the shed.
No more. Not only no more rum, but
no more margaritas.
Puerto Rican margaritas.
Puerto Rican margaritas.
That's right.
No more of that shit. We are beer drinkers.
That's what I'm saying.
Damn it, that's it. We have a good friend of ours came back today, Jason.
How you doing, Adam?
Good, man. How you doing?
Pretty good. Glad to be back.
Glad to have you back.
Silence. Hold on, I think I have a cricket noise for that. Somewhere. It was there. He tried.
Just the one.
Yeah.
But, yeah, Jason, so how you been? It's been a few weeks since you've been here.
It's been pretty good. I've been a little bit busy with work and whatnot, but glad to be back. Been doing some research on this for a couple weeks with you, so.
Yeah, we do have a pretty cool one. This one actually came suggested rather.
Yep.
By a few different listeners. But one that we're going to give a big shout out to right now would be Jessica for always sending us a lot of good stuff through the email and sharing our social media stuff. So thank you. And
thank you, Jessica.
Yeah, and thank you for this suggestion. This is a pretty cool one that we've it seems like the more we read into it, guys, the more interesting it got.
Yeah. It's local to us as well, which makes it a little easier to do the research and have a little bit of a connection to it as well.
And it makes it more interesting for us too. And I found that as I read more, other little stories that you hear around kind of connected to it. So it was really interesting to watch all the little connections form. It's
definitely going to be an episode, I think, where some of them we kind of joke around a lot and laugh, but it's definitely going to be one that I don't think is going to have too much joking because it's such a...
You won't be doing none of this.
Yeah, not a whole lot of that, at least not this time. Before we get into this episode, what are we drinking?
We're drinking a local brew, Bigelow Brewing Company, Lying Bastard.
Yes, this is a pale ale, and it's at 4.9%, so... Feel free to have a couple of them. They're not going to knock you out.
4.9, you said?
4.9.
I could drink the rest of them then.
That's right. American water.
It's better than water.
That's right. It's
but
beer.
I still have my water over here, just in case.
Good choice, Jake. Good choice. So, Jason, what's our topic?
Today's topic is...
hold on. Wait. We didn't give it a Scully finger
Oh,
rating.
we didn't.
How
Shit.
can you fuck that up?
I'm ashamed.
You should be.
I'm ashamed.
And just because you totally skipped over the Scully finger rating, I'm going to go first.
Go for it.
I'm going to give it 4.
Okay, well, I'm going to agree with you. It's a 4.
Okay, perfect.
What makes it a 5?
What makes it a 5 if they had a label that was actually printed on the can, not just like a paper taped label?
Maybe a little more alcohol to it,
It
too.
can't be a 5 if it's not at least 5%.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm with you.
That's perfect reasoning.
That's
actually.
right.
I like that.
Yes, he ain't even drinking this shit. He's like, that's for... lying bastard. He's like, I would have called it lying bitches.
Yeah, it doesn't feel good with the half gallon of vodka I drank on the way here.
No. That's all right. We got a place where you just sleep
Allegedly.
in the shed.
I must point that out. Allegedly.
That is allegedly. But Dino does come out at night, maybe. Or
yeah,
maybe
well,
not.
if you didn't poison his ass, he might come out.
Had a little bit of a mouse problem, so we're not sure what Dino is. I hope he doesn't eat that kind of shit.
Well, it's kind of cold for him to come out, too.
Nah, and we're just kidding. Don't send PETA after us, but...
No.
So, Jason, what are we doing today, man? What's our topic?
Today's story is the murder of Ashley Ouellette from Saco, Maine. Happened on February 9th, 1999.
Wow, so that would be 20 years ago.
20 years ago.
A little over 20 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
Fucking old.
Do you guys remember this even happening at the time?
I don't.
I don't either.
I was 11, so it's not like I was indulged in this at that time anyway, but...
Yeah, I was a young lad too, so it really wouldn't have been something that I would have followed. And it doesn't seem like over the years I remember hearing much about it either. You?
No, not really.
But definitely something that, as we said, we kind of got into it. It continued to get more interesting. So, Take it away, Jason.
So this story begins on February 9th, 1999. Ashley Ouellette was 15 years old at the time. She gets permission from her parents on that particular night to spend the night at the home of her friend Aaliyah Page, also in Saco.
And from what I understand, this was a big event for her in a sense because she had a lot of. I don't want to say she wasn't getting along with her parents, but there definitely were,
teenage transgressions.
Yeah. That's a good way to put it. And so, she wanted a little extra freedom. The parents said, "You know what? We're going to give you an inch here on this. We're going to let you go out and go have some fun, and we're going to trust you to be where you're saying you're going to be, to check in when you're saying you're going to check in." And
I think she was having, got caught smoking cigarettes and drinking a couple times. Things that happen with a lot of teenagers.
Of course.
Normal 15-year-old stuff.
That's happening to Jake, although, every week
I'm still
or so.
15, you guys. Cheers. Here we go.
I might have been doing the same thing, even though I was only 11. But
yeah, I mean, shit, I was for sure. Yeah, 11 o'clock. 11 o'clock. I'm already drunk.
Yeah, right. Start them early.
So this was big for her, and I think this was something that was planned out between her and her friend for a little while.
Yeah, from what I understand, when she brought it up to her parents, she basically said it was a sleepover, which isn't quite how it ended up, but originally her parents were under the impression it was a sleepover with a couple of girls. It was a school night. She was supposed to go to school with Aaliyah the next day.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So that's
Just hop
definitely
on
some
the bus
freedom.
right from her house.
Take off, and from what I understand, there were some guys that were there too, and so it was really a lot different than what she painted to her parents. But again, ain't that just a typical teenage thing to just kind of say whatever you got to say to get whatever you want? Not making her a bad kid, just making her a kid.
Yeah.
So far, it's kind of
pretty normal.
Yeah.
But I think she called her mom around like 10 o'clock that night to just to check in, make sure. I mean, this was before the age that everyone had cell phones. So just, hey, did you try to reach out to me at all? We're going to be going to bed soon. So just, last check-in for the night, basically.
Yeah.
Her mother reported that she heard some girls kind of giggling in the background. She thought maybe they were doing their nails, something like that. So
kind of complies with what she would think would be happening.
Yep.
I guess so. Doesn't raise any kind of flags yet.
Nope,
Right.
Not yet. No.
What do we got, Jake?
Go ahead.
My question is, did she stay the night at? She didn't stay the night at that girl's house though. She ended up doing something else.
Right. That was the plan originally.
Right.
Apparently, when she gets a little alcohol in her system, she, like a lot of teenagers do, they'll start having a little crush on their ex-boyfriend or ex-girlfriend.
Okay, but is it actually just teenagers though,
Yeah,
or
that's
do
true.
we know some adults that do the same thing?
And to all the women out there that I've drunk dialed in my 20s, I do apologize.
He seriously does. So
Not
what
I meant.
No, what had happened here? So she ends up leaving to go to a friend's house?
Yeah, it was. I believe it was her ex-boyfriend, who is 18. A little age difference there when you're a teenager, but his name was Steven Sanborn. She claims when she gets drunk, she starts missing Steven and having a thing. She wants to be with Steven. So.
And Steven's got a younger brother named Daniel, from what I believe. And I think
he's 16, so he's closer to her age.
Close, yeah. And now, who had driven? Now, this is a question that we have, and if somebody knows who it was, please shoot us an email. But we, three of us have done some homework on this, and we're finding a couple of names as to who could have given her the ride to the Sanborn house.
Right. The first one is 19-year-old Edwin Hernandez. Supposedly, he drove her to the brother's house, and no one was home. No one answered the door. So they drove out to some convenience store or back to this other girl's house, I'm assuming, right?
This is around like midnight, right?
Yeah.
This is the first time they went over. It was about 10 p.m.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Right.
Yeah, I think they went to the convenience store and she tried calling the Sanborn's house.
That's right, because she used a payphone to try to call them.
Yeah. What's a payphone?
Yeah, right.
Is that the one that I'm making 3 years of payments on?
I think so. I think
Yeah,
it's
right.
that $600 phone, But we've also read that there was was it Jason Carney that may have also have driven her to the Sanborn house?
Yeah, he was another guy that was at the party.
What a clown.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, he was definitely hanging out with them that night.
Yeah.
And potentially he could have been the one to have driven her driven her to the Sanborns.
Right.
It's possible.
Oh, I love it. Oh, I'm getting it, Jake.
Now you got it.
He just said what a. I said.
Now you got it.
Carney,
That's why
what a
when I was
clown.
doing this over my head, for all the podcast listeners that can see me going way over the head.
Yeah. Well, we do have some people that say set up some cameras in the shed, so that would have kind of worked. Then.
Yeah, we're gonna get some old ass Logitech webcams, hang one up in the corner there by the light.
I'm sitting there wondering why he's like waving his hand over his head.
Now
like,
you got
what
it.
The fuck, clown! Shit.
See, it's not funny when you take a minute to get it.
So they stop there. They make the call.
Yeah, I think they called the Sanborns to see, who was there, whatever. They ended up going back to the Sanborns' house, and I think she knocked on like a back window or a back door.
Yeah, she went down to the basement where the two boys had different bedrooms, and she knocked on one of the doors down there. There are multiple entrances to the house, and the younger brother, Danny, let her in.
I thought it was Christopher Cody.
Oh, maybe you're right.
Who was like I think he was around
friend.
18 too. He was living with the Sanborns.
Nope, you're right.
Yeah,
yep, you're right.
Yeah, he was living with the Sanborns at that time. He let her in, and basically let her down to Daniel and Steven's area of the house.
And this was, I think, the way this seemed to me was this was kind of a common thing in the Sanborn house to have all kinds of different kids, male and female,
right,
sleeping over. Even kids.
Yeah, kind of like the cool parents, let whoever in and out, whatever. But
yeah, I kind of got that feel too.
Yeah.
Not necessarily saying they're bad parents, but definitely loose parents.
Well, I know my parents were like that growing up. It didn't really matter who it was. If someone was staying at the house, they were just like, just let us know beforehand, please.
Yeah.
So.
And I think that when she called from the payphone, Steven actually refused to go to the phone because he was sleeping. So she decided she was going to go knock again regardless.
Yeah, I'm going to wake your ass up.
She wasn't giving
phone?
up on him that night.
Right.
I love the persistency.
Yeah.
So where would this take us next? So then she gets into the house. She's greeted by everybody down in the basement, and I believe they agree to have her sleep on the couch. But is it in Daniel's end of the basement, kind of a thing?
Yeah. Well, she got there, and Daniel and Steven's mother, Mariel, basically she tells Mariel that she's having an issue with her parents that night. She didn't mention anything about the party previously or anything. She said she was having some issues with her parents and needed a place to stay for the night. So they agreed to let her stay downstairs, I guess.
On a couch.
On the couch downstairs near Daniel's bedroom, which I guess was something they did regularly.
That's probably where the kid, sleepover slept.
Right. Yeah, probably.
Yeah. From there, I believe shortly, now this would take us to about 4 a.m.
Yeah.
Yeah. A passing motorist finds a young woman lying face down in the center of Pine Point Road.
Yeah.
She's declared dead at Maine Medical Center, but I believe at the time she wasn't cold yet.
No, she wasn't cold yet. So she pretty recently she had been laid out there.
Oh, wow.
They said she had her hands down to her side like she had been placed there. It's not like she was thrown out of a vehicle or hit by a car or anything.
Yeah, let's take a minute here to maybe describe what was seen there, because I kind of like, where you're going down. It had, I believe it had appeared even right away that she had potentially been strangled, and then later confirmed that was what had happened.
You're right, and she had blood coming out of her nose as well.
Is that a common thing when someone gets strangled to have a bloody nose or...
Yeah,
stuff like that?
Blood coming out of your nose, blood coming out of your eyes,
ears,
even,
maybe.
Probably, yeah,
Wow.
with all that. So something had definitely happened.
Yeah.
Now, what I had read too is where she was found on the road. There was like a pretty huge drainage ditch on the side that most people would have thought if you were going to dump a body, that's probably where you would do it. Right. So their thinking is where she was placed so delicately in the middle of the road for somebody to find her that it was probably like a passion thing.
Yeah, and I believe that later on when the Sanborns, they don't deny anything that we've said already, that she came over, we gave her a place to sleep, and kind of hanging out, nothing negative. But they say the last time they saw her was one of the boys brought her. Was it orange soda or something?
Daniel brought her orange soda at some point during the night, and he said after that she had complained that it was too warm downstairs, so she went upstairs to sleep on the couch, and that was the last time anybody saw her alive.
Now I wonder approximately what time that was, because she got to their place around 12:30,
right?
And she's found dead at 4 a.m.
Right.
So that's not, that's not a huge window of time.
No, it's really
so
not.
But from the time of 12:30 a.m. on, did he bring her that soda.
Right.
You know, it was like, it was 2:00 in the morning, 3:00 in the morning.
I remember reading something about that. I just don't remember exactly what time, but
Yeah,
I feel like he had gone to bed somewhere around like 1:30, something like that. So it couldn't have been much later than that.
Right.
And so what town is she found in? Because she's not in Saco anymore.
She's found in Scarborough, I think.
I believe so, right?
Yeah.
So she's found not too far away. For those of you that are not from this area, how far would you guys say Saco is from Scarborough?
Very close.
Very close.
Within 10 or 15 minutes.
Right.
Yeah, especially if you take the 95 or
The 95.
the 95,
You are not from the West Coast.
the West Coast.
The West Coast.
But so this is what we've got basically to kind of recap slightly on this. They hadn't seen her, we'll say probably 1:30, 2:00 on-ish.
Right.
Yep.
2 hours later, she's found on the side of the road. Not on this, in the middle of the road.
In the middle of the road.
Almost
right?
like she's just discarded.
Yeah, and she was fully clothed, wearing bell bottoms and a shirt, but there was no identification or personal effects on her other than just her clothing.
That's interesting. So it definitely does, from other things that I've looked at, and like you've touched on a little bit, it seems like it is maybe a crime of passion, something that happened real quick, not something that was thought about, not something that, I'm gonna watch her and plan this out. Something that somebody did quickly. They snapped.
Right.
Something transgressed.
Well, that's the theory, but the Sanborns claim that they believe she just left the house in the middle of the night instead of going up on the couch. So that would kind of change things. I mean, that would almost put it where it was a crime of opportunity if she's walking down the road at 3 a.m. and something happened.
Someone would have to pick her up.
Right.
And that is a possibility. There are,
possible.
these opportunistic killers out there, but I think that that's probably not something that's highly probable.
And here's what's really interesting, just being in Maine too. Maine is not a really busy place. Even in the big cities at night, you could still get away with not seeing a car going down the road in the deepest part of Portland for 5 or 10 minutes. That's a normal thing. So it's easy to dump someone in the middle of the road and place them very gently and make it look like they were placed there.
I wonder
you're not going to see a car going down the road at 3 a.m. for more than,
It would have to be somebody who was comfortable with the area or familiar with the area to know that, though.
Right.
No, I also believe that when there was obviously an autopsy done, and later on they were able to confirm that she, was in fact strangled. Yeah. They also said that she did have evidence of having sexual intercourse.
Thank you.
That evening, but not necessarily rape.
Right.
Not necessarily head sex either.
Yeah, well.
Right.
So, well, let's take a moment to talk about this for a second. What exactly does that mean? Because usually you see evidence of rape or something. What's the difference between evidence of just general intercourse and rape?
Well, I would imagine rape would be way more aggressive than just normal intercourse. I would imagine there'd be some bruising or some
scar tissue,
something damage.
Yeah, some sort of aggressive markings on a person. But I've never raped anybody, so don't ask me. You know what I mean?
But yeah, so I think that they're able to kind of narrow that down, that she probably just had, slept with somebody that night, so, which might also lead to the...
Well, wasn't she kind of like obsessed with the older brother?
Right.
And
so
Steven does admit that they'd had intercourse several times in the past.
Right. Well, they had an off and on relationship in 96 and 97.
Right.
But that doesn't necessarily mean that he's the one that left her there.
Right.
No.
Now, what else do we have kind of going on, that night to kind of wrap this up? And I think then we'll take a quick beer break and we'll come back and speculate maybe a bit.
All right, we can do that.
But what do we got here? I'd say at about 1:45 p.m., Robert and is that Lise Ouellette go to the Scarborough police station. That'd be that same day.
Yep.
They're shown photographs. They identify the victim as their daughter. State medical examiners determined Ashley Ouellette was strangled to death, like we had stated.
Yeah.
And I think that when they started describing her, they were talking about her tattoos and stuff like that, and things that are identifiers. I'd read something, I think, along those lines, too.
15-year-olds with tattoos, holy moly.
That's what I thought, too, but I don't know what had you guys found anything on that?
I didn't see that.
Because I was thinking the same thing. I was like, they were talking about her tattoos. I was like, geez.
Hold that thought with the tattoos. Let's take a break and we can talk about tattoos a little bit more. I guess.
All right, yeah, we'll take that beer break.
All right.
turned the TV on, and when they started talking about her tattoos, and they started, describing what she looked like, I literally broke down in tears because I was like, oh my God, that's her. And I knew for a fact her parents didn't know where she was. Why hasn't anybody said anything? I guess I just don't understand how anybody could live with that on their conscience. How do you sleep at night? You took someone's daughter. You took someone's friend. You took someone's sister. How do you live with that?
And we're back. Jake is hammered as always here. I don't know how many fucking beers he's had, but
I don't know, but we're working on 2.
Well, as we said, they're 4.9. It's like drinking water. Jake, you're fine.
It's baby formula.
It's baby formula. Put a nipple on it, Jake.
It's basically Bud Light with a pretty label.
It is a pretty label. That's probably, it is a great label. So anyway, speaking of our topic at hand, where did we leave off? Something like that we were not sure, but we were able to do some research here on the beer break, and we did find a little something about her having tattoos, as you've heard.
Yep.
So kind of cool, 15-year-old girl with tattoos, I guess. Not that uncommon. I remember it when I was in high school.
Cool parents.
Yeah.
Or did it without parents' permission.
That's right.
Someone did it at home type of thing.
Well, that kind of almost I don't want to say speaks to her character, but almost like what she's been doing in the past. It's not like she's been getting her parents' permission to do a lot of the things she has been.
It's showing the crowd she hangs out with.
Right. Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah, you guys nailed it. And I think, as we'll see, as obviously we're going to go on with the show, we'll kind of get into that later on. Prison
How many
tats.
of them have color?
I don't know. I couldn't find any of them. Could you? Could you guys find any?
No.
Either way, I've got some prison tats of my own.
Yeah, Dr. fucking Scully Fingers.
Dr. Scully Fingers. But anyways, yeah, so I guess best place to pick up the story now would be immediately after, when they found and identified who she was, with the parents, would be that the police obviously wanted to talk to the people that saw her last.
Yeah, pretty typical in any case. So they go to the Sanborns. I'm not sure how they knew to start with Sanborns. I don't know if they kind of traced her back to the party, but
maybe from the parents when they talked to them.
Right. So, the parents didn't know that she was at the Sanborns. But
that's true.
But Mariel Sanborn, the mother, said that she saw Daniel getting an orange soda from the refrigerator. He said he was just getting Ashley something to drink, and he returned to the basement. But when she woke up at 6:45 a.m. on Wednesday, Ashley was no longer in the house.
Now, she had already been found at that point.
She had been found. The family obviously didn't know that at the time, but
sure.
But maybe they thought she had gotten up, gone off to school, getting ready for school, something like that. But one way or the other, they were under the impression she had left the house.
No, I believe, that they had stated as such that they believed that she took off that she went to Thornton Academy.
Right. Yep.
Yeah,
I believe it was like an alternative program at Thornton Academy.
Yeah. So I believe that but things kind of look a little weird, I guess, as you could say, as events play out. One of the the Sanborn brothers?
Yeah, it was Daniel.
Daniel, right?
Yeah. So the police obviously questioned him. He says the last time he saw Ashley was when he brought her the orange soda, which was sometime there in the middle of the night. He said he brought her the orange soda, and she said that she was too hot and she wanted to go upstairs. When he woke up, he says that he went to school and he returned home at lunchtime. But the police actually did some research on that, and they confirmed that Daniel actually did not show up at school that day. He was absent, and he also he claims that he slept in, but he also skipped his afternoon shift at the Pizza Hut in South Portland.
Well, where the fuck is the truant officer when you need him?
But that does sound odd, but in a way it doesn't, because you got to figure this guy is now involved in a missing persons case, did it or not, and I could see where that would be upsetting, and maybe you wouldn't want to go to work.
I don't know if he knew at that point, though, when he woke up for school, that she was already found or what. Well,
okay, well, here's the thing. He's changed his story. He said he went to school, and now he's being questioned by police, and he goes, oh, well, I slept in, and then I skipped my shift at Pizza Hut.
That's what's weird to me.
True.
It's one thing to skip school because you slept in or show up late or whatever, but he also skipped his afternoon job.
Yeah, right.
And I think if you look at a lot of stories involving situations like this, it's pretty common for the person who did the crime to skip work or events that day.
You do have a good point.
And that is a really good point. And what's interesting is the police weren't talking to him during his shift. They were talking to him after his shift. I would assume they wouldn't get to him until after school that day because they assumed he went to school.
Right.
Turns out he didn't, and he skipped his work shift.
Yeah.
So
he claims he went to Old Orchard Beach with his friends, which is
really on the night that someone in your house went missing.
did that check out though? Did they question any of his friends?
I have never seen that they did question his friends. There's a lot that the police are still kind of keeping close to their vest.
Yeah, I mean, this is still an open case.
It is. Yeah.
Is it?
Yep.
I mean, it's cold
Even
but
20
open.
years later.
Of course. I mean, as long as people are still thinking about this and stuff, it's still open in some regard, and I know they're still investigating in it as well.
And if there's one thing we know about small town cases like this, they never die.
No.
The town always holds on to them until they're solved.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Now, what went on with the older brother? What do we have with Stephen Sanborn? From what I understand, he told police that he and Ashley had a brief relationship in 96, 97. They had sex on numerous occasions.
Oh, really? Is that what people who date do?
Yeah, I mean, normal.
Okay.
I mean, even, kids have sex.
I'm just saying, though, she was 12 or 13 at that time.
Really?
Well, it's 3 years before she disappeared and she was 15.
You do bring up a good point. Wow, that is maybe kind of young, but I mean, who's to say? I mean,
I wish I had a sound effect for that. Oh, hold on.
How do you have a sound effect for that?
Hold on. I do. Hold on. Ready? There it is.
Jeez.
There it is.
Yeah,
So.
so 96 or 97. He said that he figured Ashley had spent the previous night and possibly Wednesday morning in Dan's bedroom with Dan because that is the usual practice for people sleeping over who were friends of Dan's.
Sure.
Well, I thought she was his friend.
No, I believe
she went over there to go see Steven, didn't she?
That's what I found was weird too. They make it sound like he's Dan's friend, but it's Steven's ex-girlfriend. So.
Right.
But
that sounds weird.
What's weird to me is that the police affidavits don't even explore what Steven's activities were that night. So
that's strange.
It is strange.
Why wouldn't they? You would think that they would want to look at him first. I mean, if you look at you watch Forensic Files or any of these shows, a wife or a husband dies. Who do they check out first?
Of course.
Well, I don't know.
The
Ask
boyfriend,
John Mark Byers. He might know.
The boyfriend or the husband, or the whatever. That's who they check out first,
right?
Because that's usually number one suspect, and that's.
Right.
But they never really looked into him too much. You're saying,
right? Which is weird, but her mom Lise, her opinion that she had left in the middle of the night, she scoffs at that idea. She says that she would have called her parents and would have had them go pick her up. Very unlikely that she would leave the house at 1 a.m. to go walking on the back roads.
But you know what?
Especially in the middle of winter. Let's not forget, this is in February.
That's also true.
But if you listen to the Sanborns, they're saying that Ashley went there saying that she was arguing with her parents. So if she's having some kind of a fight with them, maybe she isn't going to call them.
Right.
Okay, but on the phone call that she had with her mom, she ended the phone call with, "I love you." And being a moody teenager, if you're 15 years old and grumpy at your parents, having an argument with them, you're not going to end the phone call with, "I love you." You're going to end the phone call with a nicer version of "fuck you."
No, maybe you would, though.
I mean?
Maybe you would. I mean, we don't know her. It's hard to say. But either way.
Jake, but
no, I do to some regard, too. But, I mean, you never know. But you're probably right. But even the fact that she called her.
Right.
Says that it couldn't have been that terrible, I guess.
Right.
It's weird that way.
It's weird to me because she claims to the Sanborns that she was fighting with her parents. That's the only place that you hear that is from the Sanborns. Mm-hmm. And a part of me is like, well, maybe her parents don't want to bring that part up. But then the other part of me is like, maybe she was using that as an excuse to have a reason to stay at the Sanborns.
Right. Which is very possible.
Right.
Yeah. So
teenagers lie. Let's just get that out in the open.
Well, yeah, all teenagers, good ones, bad ones, and
absolutely.
all in between, and that's that.
Well, hold on, just before we go any further, and we kind of should point out that it's not like we're dealing with a bunch of people who are upstanding citizens, have white collar jobs. Don't have any problems.
We'll get into that.
Yeah.
Right.
But one thing that is weird about it is that court records today actually show that Stephen and Daniel have actually continued to live with their parents, Mariel and Earl.
And this is 20 years after
This is 20 years after. They're in their 40s now. And they're
what are you saying about them?
They're lovely people.
That's right.
Welcoming home.
Love their parents.
Cheers.
Love them. Love them. There to help mom and dad.
But during a recent visit to the Sanborn house, a reporter went to check up on the 20-year anniversary. So they went and kind of checked up to see what was going on. And Earl Sanborn was out in the driveway, and he said that they're not going to talk about it. They've been through this before, and they're kind of not discussing it anymore.
Is that weird? Do you find that odd?
You know what's even... I find that kind of odd. You know what's even more odd is they don't need a shout-out, but I was watching a video from True Crime Daily about this whole case, and they actually showed up at these people's houses.
Yeah, right.
Or at this trailer. It's a trailer with a basement, is what it is.
Yeah.
They
That's
showed up
a
at the
house.
Well, maybe to you it's a house.
That's a domicile. This shed.
This shed is my own private domicile, and I will not be harassed.
But anyways, man.
Anyway, but they showed up. True Crime Daily showed up at these people's house, and they go, "We're investigating this in this case. Do you have any comment?" And Muriel comes out and just goes, "No comment." And they go, "Really? Someone disappears from your house, and you don't want to have a comment, or you don't have anything to say?" She just says, "No comment."
Maybe
walks
she's
into her house on her phone.
Maybe she's sick of talking about it for 20 years. But imagine this.
Totally,
Imagine this though
totally
for a second.
Reasonable.
But imagine this. Let's just say what they're saying is the truth. Let's just say.
Right.
Now it's been 20 years of living life, and
under a constant microscope.
You're under a constant microscope.
People are constantly
You're not fucking
you.
lying. We'll say. I mean,
Right.
I don't know. We don't know. Nobody knows. This is an unsolved case. But let's just say why I would maybe behave that way. If 20 years after the fact, this is happening to me, some True Crime dailies come in to talk to me, I might say, you know what? I've told the story from day one. I'm tired of telling it. It's 20 years.
Oh, I'd be annoyed as hell.
And that's that. So maybe that's the case, is my point. Or right, maybe it's just some lie that's just eating you apart.
Yeah, I mean, they always say one way to keep your story straight is to tell the truth. So, in my, things that I've read or seen in other stories is, it doesn't matter if you tell the same story 100 times and it's right. That one time you get one detail mixed up, everyone's, oh, well, he's changing his story now and he's guilty. So.
Yeah, well, now you've got an inconsistency. Now we can pick that apart.
Right, and it doesn't do you any good to have to constantly spew your story. I mean, once it's out there, you're better off to leave it alone.
Yep, exactly.
What's it cost to lawyer up if you're the Sanborns for 20 years?
Well, we're poor, so you tell me.
Well, but you know what I'm saying? And what do the lawyers say? At some point, they always say, just stop talking. They usually say that right from the get-go.
Yeah.
Well, I think most lawyers would advise their clients to don't speak.
This could be under the advice of a lawyer.
Right.
But they're done talking from what we all understand here. Now, where else are we with this? So we got that. That's still going on. There's also some other things. Should we get into maybe who the Sanborn boys grew up to become, maybe?
Yeah, upstanding citizens, go for it.
Yeah,
That's
sounds
right.
like
Go
it.
ahead.
It sounds like they've got extensive criminal records, from what I understand.
It's really just about everybody involved with this story kind of has a checkered future from this point on.
Okay, well, before we get too far into that, should we talk about the little connection that I had actually discovered 2 nights ago, last night, whatever, and I talked to you about? Maybe talk about that a little bit before we get into who these guys are.
Back into the
because it kind of relates
to her.
To who these two brothers
sure.
are.
Well, what are you thinking, man?
Okay, so I was reading an article the other day, and we were talking. It was talking about Ashley Ouellette, obviously, and who in particular gave her a ride to the Sanborns' house that night.
Yeah.
And it's supposedly this other person named James Carney, I think it was.
Jason
Carney.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Jason Carney. Jason Carney was friends with this other person named the hell's his name? Tony Torres.
Tony Torres, yeah.
He is another missing person from that area. Tony Torres went missing about 3 months after Ashley was discovered face down in the road.
Right.
That's true. So this does happen kind of around the same time.
Right.
And Jason Carney was at that party that night with Ashley.
Was Tony Torres? Do we know?
I haven't found anything on that.
He was
so I'm
there.
Curious.
And some reports claim that he's the one who gave her the ride to the Sanborns. Other reports say it was Edwin.
Interesting.
But he was confirmed to be at the party.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
So
what's interesting about that connection is Tony Torres actually told his parents that he knew what happened to her.
That's right.
And his parents, for whatever reason, I don't understand it, but I'm not going to judge. He told them, I know what happened to her. And they said, well, you either need to say it or shut the fuck up.
Really? Huh?
Yeah, go to the police or don't ever speak of it again.
Yeah,
I guess that's great advice.
I think they should have just drove his ass to the police station, but that's just my personal opinion. He disappeared 3 months later.
What do we know on that?
You guys, from what I had read, he was hanging out with Jason and the Sanborns, and he had actually gone to a convenience store with just Jason, and about 45 minutes later, Jason came back alone.
Aggressive.
Yeah. It's aggressive.
Yeah, Jason came back alone and claimed that Tony had gotten picked up or was going to get picked up.
Yeah.
But when they had gone to the store, it was late at night.
Right.
Do we know what time about?
It was
past midnight?
Past midnight.
Yeah.
It was late.
And he's never been seen since then. So.
Right, exactly. These guys, these two brothers, have a long history, and so does this Jason Carney, supposedly.
He's dead now.
Is he dead now? What happened to him?
He
Drug overdose.
Oh, surprise.
He passed away in 2015.
2012 or 14, I thought. But
okay. Whatever it was.
Yeah,
Late.
recently, yeah.
Yeah, right. Now I forgot where I was going with that.
Yeah, well, he passed away due to a drug overdose, but the other people still have quite a checkered past. Daniel is actually 36 now, has a long list of legal troubles in his past, dating all the way back to 2002. He has convictions for assault, theft, drug possession, and drug trafficking. His latest charges stemmed from an arrest in 2017 when the local police found him passed out in his car on Sullivan Street near a known drug house. They said they recognized Sanborn from past drug activity and knew he had outstanding bail conditions that required him to submit to random searches for alcohol or drugs. So they seized a bunch of paraphernalia from his truck, several different plastic bags containing cocaine, heroin fentanyl mixture, and
heroin fentanyl.
And a synthetic opioid known as U47700. Which I actually did some research on that. It's a synthetic opioid that is 7.5 times more powerful than morphine.
Wow.
Oh, my God.
So there's no... wow. He's I mean, you can imagine this guy's doing that, and
This
who
is
knows
why
what
he
he's
was
doing.
passed out in his
Right,
truck.
right.
Can you
That's what I'm
imagine
saying.
how good he felt in that moment, though?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Leading up to that point of blacking out,
I
Jake.
am not advocating for drug use at all, but if it's 7 times stronger than morphine, which is already something that people go after, can you imagine how good it must have felt?
You know, it seems like these kind of drugs are an epidemic in southern Maine.
They definitely are.
It really it's gotten really big in the last couple of years. And just a quick story. I actually had to pick up a good friend of mine's sister like 4 or 5 years back because she was dropping off her boyfriend up here, blah, 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 blah. Her boyfriend was involved in heroin and fentanyl and all this crazy stuff, and it looked like she was on some stuff too, and this girl's like freaking 17 years old at the time.
It's crazy.
It's like you can't...
Sad, really.
Yeah, it's really sad to watch someone go down that road. So if you are on that stuff, please do something about it.
Yeah,
please.
There's places to that are there to help you. So
Yeah.
check that out.
Yeah.
If you know somebody, send them that way.
This would be the perfect time to plug some sort of phone number for that or some sort of recovery thing, but you know it's wrong.
I don't know it, but call some help.
Yeah, exactly. Get some help. If you know someone that's on that stuff, please clean them up. Anyway.
So Daniel actually pleaded guilty to those charges in February of 2018. He was sentenced to a year in prison. He was released in September, and he's on probation through 2020.
Nice.
He was released in September of 2018, I'm assuming.
You're right, yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
Well, we haven't had this September yet, so.
Yeah.
Ow.
Too many beers, Jake. Come on.
I'm double fisting it. You're literally looking at it.
Where's the camera when we need it? Right?
I know. Like I said, we're going to get that Logitech camera. We're going to put it up right by that light.
So what do we got? The older brother now, Steven Sanborn. Now he's 38, going to be 39. He's also got multiple convictions of driving under the influence, drug possession.
Allegedly.
No,
convictions. That's not allegedly.
Yeah, of course, convictions. Endangering the welfare of a child. That's a good one.
It's a really like I'm not giving him any credit.
That's a broad stroke
yeah.
on that.
Thank you.
Yeah, okay.
Took the words right out of
you
my
know
mouth.
what? I'm going to agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Theft and assault. I mean, hey, that is what it is.
Okay, well that narrows it down a little bit.
Yeah. And What is this? He operated a driveway seal coating business as well.
Yeah, which is weird to me. He owns his own business, but he still lives with his parents.
Okay, but does he own his own business, or does he go to Home Depot and buy the couple buckets of driveway sealer and put a phone number out on his truck?
I'll be honest, guys.
You know what I mean? That's a different story.
I have sealed some driveways for money myself.
Have you?
I have.
You've done a lot of things for money. Let's not talk about it.
Yeah. All right. Yep. I agree. We're not going to go there.
Got a good point.
Yep.
So, what do we have here? We got these Sanborn boys. They still, they're pieces of shit, really. They've done all this shit.
Man, I hope if anyone goes after anyone in this podcast, it's going to be you.
I called them upstanding citizens, and Jake backed me up, so this is all on
That's
that.
right.
This is all
So,
on
Adam,
me, but come on. I mean, you got all these charges. You got all this. I mean.
And you live with mom at 38 years old.
You live with mom at 38 years old. Why do they live with mom and dad? That's what I'm getting at, okay? They've got all these problems. They're doing all this shit. Why are they still living with mom and dad?
See, my theory is, as far as why they live with their parents, is it's almost like a protection for them, because it seems like anytime they're about to be questioned, mom and dad meet them at the door and say, "We're not answering shit. Get the fuck out of here."
It's a safety belt.
It's a safety belt.
You know what? If you're in Maine and you kill somebody, you either live with your parents or you move to California.
You know, that's really true. In all the cases we've done, just doing the 20 episodes we've done or whatever it is now,
not even.
It seems like everyone that commits a crime on the East Coast goes to the West Coast.
Yeah.
It's really interesting.
Well, in this case, and we're not necessarily saying these guys did this.
Right.
Because it is unsolved, but there are things that we can look at in the shed right now.
Right, like right now I'm looking at a board full of beer caps. I'm looking at a wall plastered with darts.
I'm looking at a bin full of empty bottles.
And 3 laptops, 2 with notes and 1 that's recording over in the corner.
But another thing that we can look at is just the puzzle pieces of this case, that we can put together and see if they fit, in some ways. I mean, you've got these guys that have a criminal history that show that they have no problem doing whatever they want.
Pretty much.
Shows that they have no respect for, you get assault on there.
Up to and including violence. So, yeah.
Now, are they the freest people because they see no problem with it? No? All right.
I see what you're saying, though. Yeah. I mean, that's a totally different topic.
Yeah, yeah. All right.
But I know what you mean.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, because they, fucking living life like Grand Theft Auto or something,
Yeah, basically.
But anyway, so they've shown that they have no problem doing whatever they want, I guess, to whoever they want in some ways.
They're very independent, except for the
living with the parents,
thing.
the safety belt that Jason brought up.
Right.
We've got the Carney guy, Jason Carney. He, he's dead, so he'll never be able to really talk on things.
Police believed he knew more than he was putting out there as far as the Torres case. They were pretty confident that he held the answers in that case, and of course they're never going to get them now. But it just leads you to wonder, what they know. I think police have a pretty good idea with this case. It's just the evidence that they can't. That one piece of evidence where they can't take this to trial because you only get one shot at it. So
yeah, no, you do bring up a good point because they're only going to bring something like this to trial if they believe that they're going to get a conviction.
Right.
There's a lot of time. I hate to put human life in this perspective, but a lot of money spent on obtaining evidence and interviewing people, looking into all this.
Right.
That if they're going to take that one shot, they're going to wait till it's right. I mean, just like, some of the other cases that we've done where we're like, well, they've convicted the West Memphis 3 unless, well, that was fucked up. But a lot of times they're going to hold off and make sure that they've nailed it down, for sure.
I'd rather see him wait 20 years and get it right than wait 5 years and get it wrong. So.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. So, the Carney guy, how do you guys feel about him? What do you guys think, Jake? We'll start with you.
Well, it's funny you bring him up. Just another little side story that kind of goes with this. I actually have a coworker who went to school with Tony Torres.
Really?
Yeah, and he was actually known to be involved with I don't know. I wouldn't call it a drug cartel or maybe a gang. I don't know. Whatever. A group of people out of Connecticut.
And this is speculation, right?
This is all speculation. He was known, quote unquote, to be affiliated with this group of people out of Connecticut who were selling drugs up in Maine. So these people would come up, and Tony would meet up with them, and they were, I guess, genuine friends. I don't know. That's what I've been told. And so
you're saying maybe that his disappearance might be and
drug related,
and not necessarily anything tied with Ashley Ouellette.
Well,
if there is some truth behind something like that.
Well, if this Jason Carney guy was hanging out with Ashley at this party that night, is it possible that he might have done something to her just because of that? And I don't know. I just thought it was interesting the way the two cases kind of.
You do have a good point,
you know
because,
I mean?
And if you're going to look at that avenue, I mean, these people, I mean, I hate to say this, but I mean, we're not sensitive in the shed. I mean, it seemed like they were all into drugs. You know what I mean?
And that's okay, I guess.
Well, whatever. You know, live your life, do what you want to do, even if you're 15.
We're libertarian in the shed.
Drugs are bad. It's still not a reason to be murdered.
Right, of course.
Right.
But, you know, it's just something that's going to happen. But
so is it possible this is a drug-related thing with her, I guess, is where I was going with that.
Also, could it... do you see anything, Jason, that brings it to that? I really don't myself.
I still lean towards the crime of passion.
I do too. Just based on what we have. The fact that she was strangled. I believe that if you watch a lot of this kind of stuff, you research a lot of these kind of cases, she was strangled. That was in the way she was strangled.
Manual strangulation is
with the
very
hand.
much a crime of passion.
Yeah, not with like a rope or a cord or something, just something real quick by the hand, just a snap of the mind to bring somebody over the edge to that point of boom, real quick, you know?
Yeah.
What do you got? You got your hands and you do it.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense just because it would make sense it's a crime of passion just because if someone owes you money for drugs, you're not going to care to manually strangle them.
I'm going to
You'll
shoot them or
just in the
stab
head.
them or do some
Exactly.
shit.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
So, yeah, I'm going to kind of, that's to me, that looks like that too. Now, on her, I think they found some fibers. Was there fibers in her hair or some kind of thing?
Fibers in her hair. They got some carpet fibers, stuff like that.
Yeah, they found some dirt in her hair too, and they actually found dirt that was similar or like some sort of weed or something that was similar that was in her hair in the younger brother's car.
Is that
Did you guys read
it was,
anything
no,
about
it was
that?
grass.
I did read that,
It was
Okay.
grass, and you know what? Hey, maybe it's not that weird to find grass, the same kind of grass. I don't
No,
think the
of
grass
course not.
around here, where I'm at in this part of Maine, is that different from that far from say where you live or where you live.
Right.
Right.
So, but I don't know. You know what I mean? How do you? I mean, this.
Right.
I can tell you one thing. Like, there's different types of grass. Like, you could have say your backyard grass is grown with Alabama creeping green kind of grass or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's a certain type, and your neighbor's got some whatever type of grass. It is a different genetic strain of grass. So maybe you could say, well, that's the same grass that's genetically the same. I don't know if that's what they found or
I'd be interested. Of course, the police haven't released it, but I'd be interested as to where they found the grass in the car. Was it in the trunk? Because that certainly creates more questions.
I don't remember, but I do remember that the car was ugly as fuck. It was like a Mitsubishi Colt or some fucking stupid. I don't know.
Was this car loaded with grass? Like, was
That's
I don't
another good
remember
question.
exactly, but it looked like a Mazda 5 minivan, but even smaller than that. That's all. That's really all I know about.
so
the
it
situation.
was like a minivan kind of thing
Well, it
because there would be no trunk.
kind of. It wasn't really a minivan. It was like you guys know those Mazda 5 minivans that sit really low.
Yeah,
and they
it's
get
like
the
a
sliding
hatchback.
door.
Hatchback.
Yes, exactly. It was like that, but someone took the quarter panel off and put taillights there. It was like a super tiny thing. It was like a I don't know, it was like a Mitsubishi Colt or something fucking stupid. It was a weird, ugly little car thing.
A hatchback, though, if you really think about it, if she was in the back of a hatchback, how quickly could he get a body out of that hatchback into the middle of the road and disappear?
Well, I have a
She would've-
hatchback. I'll tell you, it's fucking easy.
No. Wait, but
not
listen,
saying I dumped her in the middle of the
She
street,
was
but-
found in the middle of the road. It sounds more like you opened a door and you booted her out, pushed her out,
But they found her with her hands to the side, looking all
Right.
neat and orderly.
like she
so-
was
Right.
placed there.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So in that case, it doesn't matter. She could have came from any part of the vehicle. Maybe the back
Exactly.
seat where she was strangled. If she was still found
And
warm.
we're just assuming that Daniel did it in all of this.
Are we saying it's Daniel, or assuming it's Daniel even?
Well,
Like, if-
Daniel or
if he
Steven?
did it,
If
This
we're
is-
talking about a hatchback,
With
then
his
yes,
vehicle,
because he drove a
yes.
hatchback vehicle at the time.
If he did it, this is how I could see him doing it.
Of
But
course. Now, what do we have on Steven? I mean, what is the
I don't know.
Now they had a thing.
They did, and I feel like if he's involved, it's almost more of a cover-up than not. I mean, based on witness reports, he basically had no interest in even seeing her that night. So
Yeah, wasn't he sleeping all
he was
night?
sleeping. He was
Right.
kind of like, yeah, whatever.
I mean, if he wanted to talk to her, she was trying to get a hold of him.
Right.
You know, and you're right. You do bring up a good point because it was the friend that was staying at the house
that let her in.
That let her in. It wasn't Steven waiting.
And you don't hear anything else about him in this whole case, which is weird because he was in the house. So
I don't think I seen any of his testimony at all throughout all of my investigation. I don't think he said anything.
I couldn't find anything really.
Him and Edwin Hernandez are basically fucking ghosts. They're brought up and then you never hear from them again. But you know, to Jake's point about them all being involved in drugs, the friend Aaliyah.
Aaliyah Page.
And she's the one that that Ashley was going to visit originally.
Right. She's the friend who had the party to start with. She's got a long history too. She's got an arrest record with repeated convictions for driving under the influence of alcohol or drugs, violating conditions of release, harassment by telephone, theft and drug possession. She actually told the police at one point that she had information on the case. She went to the police station, gave the information. They basically said, yeah, that's great. We already knew that. But she also I think she has 4 or 5 kids, and she's actually given up custody of all of them over periods of time. So,
okay, quick question. There's charges or convictions for harassment by telephone. How come we don't have that in 2019 with all these people being rude online and sending harassing text messages and whatever? I'm just surprised that no one's been charged with that yet.
I guess it depends on what you say.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean,
I can tell you you're a fucking idiot. It's not harassment, but if I tell you I'm going to come to your house and slit your throat.
Well, I mean, if I tell you you're a fucking idiot 25 times a day and I'm blowing up your phone with text messages constantly, is that harassment by telephone?
Yeah.
I just thought that was interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting. But so a reporter actually went to the jail that she's been in most recently and started asking her questions.
Most recently.
Yeah. And when they asked why she was in jail, she just hung up the phone and took off.
Oh.
So to any of our single male listeners, I suggest you don't bother looking her up on Tinder.
Oh, come on. Oh, come
Swipe
on.
left.
What do you mean?
She's
What
not
do
a
you
keeper.
mean?
Jake, put your phone away.
What do you mean?
Put your phone away.
She sounds like a winner.
Yeah. So what do we know? What do we think? What's your feel? What's your gut say about this one? Do you guys think she knows anything? I mean, she's not a winner, but
it's weird because like I feel like I don't think she has any direct knowledge, but I feel like she may have heard, in that friends group, maybe heard some rumors or things like that. But the reporter who went to visit her actually asked her if she was punishing herself for Ashley's death, and she said, "I most definitely am. I wish I went with her that night. It's the biggest mistake of my life." So I don't know if she thinks she would have prevented it or what, but
she probably does. I mean, if she's saying something like that, but
it's pretty common for a friend to feel guilty about it, like, oh, I could have done something, but
I was gonna say that just sounds a lot like guilt to me, like feeling guilty of some sort.
Right, not necessarily that she was guilty, but she definitely feels guilty.
Right.
Yeah, I would say so as well. This is this is a crazy story.
It really is. And what was more crazy to me was just the tie-in with this Tony Torres guy. I really feel like we should give him his due diligence, give him 10 or 15 minutes to talk about, just because just because of that connection.
Yeah, why don't you go ahead with that?
Because he doesn't have a really, really big story, because he went missing, 3 months after she disappeared?
Yeah.
Or after she was found dead in the street. So Tony Torres was 21 at the time. He was last seen in Biddeford, Maine at about 2 a.m.
College student. UMass, I think.
UMass, I want to say Amherst, but I think I'm wrong.
No, I think it was
I
Amherst.
think you're wrong.
You think I'm wrong or
Yeah,
right?
I think you're wrong.
Oh, okay. No, I believe that. UMass.
It was one of the UMass, but it wasn't Amherst.
Okay. He was last seen at about 2 a.m. in Biddeford on May 21st, 1999. He was out shopping with friends that morning and was last seen when they dropped him off at the Whistle Stop store. He was looking for a ride to North Conway, which is about half an hour from his home in Denmark, Maine, when a man in a red truck was going to drive him. He'd never been heard from again. And this is when he went to the store with that Jay Carney guy, right. And supposedly he was supposed to get picked up by a guy in a red truck.
Yeah, right. I had read all that too, of course, because you sent me the info.
But yeah, right. The one page I found.
The one page,
right?
But I guess that again, when you're bringing him up, you're bringing back up Jay Carney, Jason Carney, rather. What are we saying here? Do we feel like this guy's involved? What do you think? What do you guys think? Do you think this guy's involved, or does he know? I mean,
well,
do you want to just go with theories now?
I guess we could.
I guess we're just going theories.
Who's going first?
You.
Me?
You. I'm going to finish this beer and try to make it over there into the beer thing.
All right. Well, like I've kind
Airball.
I tried.
Well, good shot. Like I was going with all along. I feel like this one here is a crime of passion. I feel like she was someone got mad, and they, without thinking, without any kind of regard for anyone else, especially Ashley, they strangled her real quickly.
Yep.
They panicked. They didn't know what to do. They loaded her into a vehicle. Maybe there was some kind of grass transfer from that area. Maybe not. Maybe that was just an incident. But also when they got to where they felt it was safe, they wanted to just get rid of her. They just wanted to throw her out. So they real quickly opened the door, and they threw her right out to the middle of the road, and they sped off.
Okay, well, just a question. Is it possible, because of the way she was laid out in the street with, arms next to her,
placed her.
whatever, hands next to her, was she alive when they dumped her? Potentially?
Well, it was strangulation.
It was strangulation. I mean, it sounds like she was murdered and put out and maybe found minutes later.
I mean, if she wasn't strangled to the point of death, then
you're gonna come back,
right?
Yeah. So she was strangled.
No, you're right.
She was strangled to the point of death, and found It was February. She was found minutes later. It's fucking cold here.
Yeah.
You're a dead body. You're gonna become cold real fast.
Yeah, you remember that night we recorded and the nails were fucking frozen?
Yeah.
That's how cold it is here.
I mean, I don't know, but it was cold enough there that I'm sure a body would be cold within half an hour.
Oh, yeah.
45 minutes or so.
Yeah.
So she was found within half an hour, I would say, of being dumped there. If I'm going to speculate who did it, I would say it was most likely Daniel Sanborn. That was just highly speculation. I'm not going to say this guy did this. But that's just, allegedly looking at the media and the research that we've done, I would say that it was probably him. It looks like Steven had kind of over her, She, that was that. He got what he wanted out of it. Well, hey, young guys, whatever. He got what he wanted, whatever, done. The brother, for some reason, something happened, and would be my assumption. Now, as far as Jason Carney goes, they're tight, and I don't think he's a great guy. I think he knows, and I think, being friends with Torres knew, and I think being friends with Torres knew. I won't say that was definitely something that tied Torres into this, just because all these people are tied into drugs and violence. So
right.
When you live a life of drugs and violence, your death could come at any point, could be right around the corner. So, and maybe he's not even dead.
You're not talking about like weed either. I mean, this is
some
hardcore drugs.
Right.
If you have a weed circle, so to say, you could have 100,000 people in that. If you have a cocaine circle, you're talking 50,000 people. You're talking heroin circle, it gets even smaller. So
Right, that's exactly what I'm saying, So he kind of, if in that speculation too, if in fact Torres was into the drug trafficking and sort of thing, like what we've heard. I mean, again, that would increase obviously the odds of some kind of crazy shit like him being killed by some kind of organization,
right?
Other than being linked to this by that Jason Carney guy.
So I feel personally, I think it has more to do with the two brothers than this Jason Carney or even Tony Torres. I really don't think Tony Torres has anything to do with it. I think he probably heard it from someone and was like, I know what happened, or I heard what happened, but I want to keep my mouth shut. And then he goes missing. It's hard. What's confusing to me is when you're talking about this Edwin Hernandez guy that supposedly gave her the ride to the Sanborn residence both times that she went. He only comes up in one little piece of information that I had found, but everything else that I've seen to find,
he's irrelevant.
He doesn't even come up.
Yeah.
They talk about this Jay Carney guy, and then Jay Carney is taking Tony Torres to a store, and all of a sudden Tony Torres is missing. It kind of incriminates him, just I guess guilt by association. You know what I mean?
He has definitely more of a history than Edwin Hernandez has.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And just the fact that we couldn't find anything else on Edwin Hernandez enough it's just
I
enough
couldn't
for me
even
to
find his name. And this is the age of social media. Like,
Right.
usually you can find anything. So
You look up
absolutely.
Jason Carney, and all you see is, common North American douchebag. That's what I find.
everything I found on Jason Carney was about how he basically took secrets to his grave. So
Yeah.
I heard he was a funny guy.
Yeah. A funny guy.
Ha, 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 ha.
But where's your sound effects?
I'm
Come on.
I'm sorry. I got notes open.
Jason, what do you think, man?
So I think
better?
that
Thank you.
I think my theory is I agree that it was more probable than not that Daniel's probably involved. I feel like he may have had a thing for Ashley. Maybe was a little bit jealous that his brother had been dating her off and on, whatever. Maybe they had intercourse that night. Maybe he was trying to do something while she was sleeping or something, and when she came to.
Not to cut you off, but they found that she had intercourse. Were they able to test, was there any semen?
They said they have a condom in evidence, but they haven't
Yeah,
released
they pulled it
any.
from the house. I
And just
remember
because
this.
you slept
Yeah.
with somebody
Yep.
doesn't mean you killed them.
That's
Right,
true.
right.
But anyways.
You may think about it, but
Yeah.
don't do it.
But is it possible that maybe he was doing something against her will? She might have came to or something. I don't know how much she drank or did at the party. So
Yeah, that's
was
a
she
good
in a
point.
deep sleep from drinking too much, and maybe she came to as he was doing something to her, and he panicked and maybe strangled her. So
Yeah.
Well, there's a good question to be asked now that you bring that up. What kind of condition was she in when she showed up?
right.
Because if she's known to go out and party and do all these things, what was she doing before she showed up at these people's houses? Was she 2 blunts deep? Was she 6 drinks deep? We
Right.
don't know.
Right.
Jake, how many blunts deep are you?
0.
0 blunts
I don't
deep.
smoke weed. I don't know what you're talking about.
We don't do that on the podcast.
Yeah. But yeah, I feel like maybe she came to and he panicked, but I think this is really a Sanborn family secret as far as what happened, and I wouldn't be surprised if they're all in on a cover-up.
No comment.
Well, it would make sense as to why they all live together.
They all live together. I mean, the family as a whole is basically the last people to have seen her.
Right.
But there's a lot of evidence that leads people that way, but like we said, the police are looking for that one piece of evidence that can really tie this case up, but it's hard because, they have fibers from the Sanborn house. Okay, there's no denying she was there.
She was
They admit
there.
that.
Right.
Yeah.
So a lot of the evidence could just be easily explained away by, she was there, like we said. Yeah, she was there, like
Right.
we said.
And they don't
they
deny
had
that-
sex. They were sexually active, like we said. Like,
Right. And they don't deny that she was there.
If
Right.
that were the case, wouldn't this be the perfect murder?
I don't believe in that, but
Well, no, the perfect murder, you don't get caught.
Well, nobody's been caught
Yet.
yet.
Yeah,
that's true. But
the
I
perfect
mean,
murder, nobody knows about it. And I think
that's
there
a
are
good
plenty-
point.
I think there are people that know about it.
Yeah, just a few.
Yeah.
I sure hope they come forward.
Just us 3 mainly.
Yeah.
Right.
So I hope they. Well, I guess this would be a good point to wrap this up.
All right. Can do that. How do we want to wrap this up?
Well, I just would like to start with saying that, from watching a lot of the social media, a lot of the stuff that I found online, the stuff from the families of, the Torres family, the Ouellette family, I really hope that this case is solved for them. And if anybody knows anything that happened, if anybody saw anything, if anybody heard any rumors, I think, it's been 20 years now for both these guys, these individuals. I think it's time to say something. Let's wrap this up.
If you know something, please say something.
If you feel that guilt, it's time to get it off your chest.
We're basically just going to guilt trip you into confessing.
No, it's just, it's true. If you know something, please say something. That's all I got on that. And if anybody else knows anything, contact, obviously, the Maine State Police or whoever you would contact on this case, the Saco or Scarborough Police.
Yeah, whatever it is, Saco.
Yeah.
Saco Police, Maine State Police, 1-800-THE-LOST, all of those things.
Yes. What do you got, Jason?
Just thanks for having me again.
Yeah, well, we're obviously, love having you here, and you'll be back. You're kind of a part of the shed at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're even on the Slack channel.
That's right.
Send all our information to and from.
That's
We're
big.
still working on figuring that out.
So
So
I know
what-
it's kind of confusing
Yeah,
sometimes.
a little bit.
But I love Slack. What on? I guess good time here. What's our social media, Jake?
Give me 1 second. Sorry, I'm still dying.
Stop coughing.
It's not my fault. Facebook, Stories from the Shed. Instagram, Stories from the Shed Podcast. We have a YouTube channel. We have 20 subscribers now.
Yes.
I know that doesn't seem like a lot, but to me it's a lot. Stories from the Shed Podcast. Twitter, the worst of all the social media. You guys on Twitter are fucking insane. Stories from Shed. And send us emails. Tell us we suck. Tell us we're great. Give us story ideas. Tell us if we screwed up something in the story. Or just say hi. Whatever you choose to do. sftspodcast@gmail.com.
Yes. Love those emails. Thanks for listening. Thanks for telling everybody you know. Share. See you next week.
Bye-bye, guys.